You know, when I look at Impact Wrestling, I'm kind of saying to myself, man, the business moves that this rebuild era, as I like to call it, with Don Callis and Scott D'Amore, they are doing a really, really good job when it comes down to rebuilding the brand of Impact Wrestling. Now, look, is Impact Wrestling under this rebuild era perfect? Not really. In my personal opinion, there is some kinks that they need to work on. More live shows would be nice. Sometimes I just feel like the editing of certain episodes are kind of hit or miss. Sometimes I still feel like the acoustics are kind of off. I don't know how sound editing is still a problem for Impact Wrestling, but it is what it is. I also feel like sometimes their weekly shows are hit or miss. Like, I really do feel like, yes, you get your good 2 matches a week on that show, but sometimes I feel like the storylines and the characters bleed in together, and I just feel like unless you're a current wrestling fan or someone who's been following Impact Wrestling for a while, some of the storylines are just kind of hit or miss. Like, I can't, and I feel like a lot of wrestling casual fans, if you show them some of their storylines, they could get it, but at the same time, a lot of them come off as goofy, and a lot of people could laugh at it. And I know a lot of people are going to say, Chase, is this another Impact Bash piece? And no, it's not. I'm just stating, in my personal opinion, some of my concerns and my problems with Impact Wrestling. But what I do like is the partnerships that Impact Wrestling has been making. And that's something that I feel like Impact Wrestling in the past has done a good job when they were TNA. But when they were TNA, they kind of let those other companies kind of walk all over them. And they kind of let those other companies, get the best out of them. The only time TNA really got the best out of a certain company was when they were doing the ROH talent exchange and they stole Samoa Joe from Ring of Honor. That was something that I was just like, I could not believe that TNA stole Samoa Joe from Ring of Honor, and they got the most out of Samoa Joe for sure. But when it comes down to it, a lot of the times when you look at TNA, when they do kind of a talent exchange, you look at their first time with New Japan Pro Wrestling, and sure, Kurt Angle was the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. I put that in quotations because that really wasn't the belt at the time. And sure, we got a bunch of IWGP Junior Heavyweight and IWGP Tag Team matches back in '08 and '09. But really, to be honest, they didn't get any New Japan superstars that really changed the mark for Impact Wrestling. They didn't really benefit from that New Japan partnership whatsoever, in my personal opinion. You look at the All Japan partnership, and we can also talk about how that was just Great Muta freaking getting his ego on in that with Impact Wrestling, and they put on quite possibly the worst Bound for Glory ever. Probably Impact Wrestling's worst pay-per-view ever. But I kind of like now that what Impact Wrestling is doing is that now they're kind of doing where they're opening their doors. Because before, where their talent was kind of limited to where they could work on the independents when they were with Dixie Carter, because, let's just face it, these guys, not to say that TNA doesn't pay their superstars, but for the amount of months that they film with TV and stuff like that, a wrestler can't just sit on their TNA contract and say, I have to just work with TNA and I can make the most money. No, they will have to go out and wrestle under independents. And it kind of sucked for a lot of the guys because they couldn't really work certain independents unless Impact Wrestling gave it the okay. This was back in the Dixie era, if you remember. You couldn't work with ROH because ROH, felt burned by TNA in the past and didn't really open up their doors to TNA. So that was something that kind of hurt a lot of wrestlers because instead of them helping out TNA by going to Ring of Honor and, Ring of Honor understanding that, hey, them working with TNA could actually help them, they were kind of at ends with each other when they really shouldn't have. Now it's kind of nice to see that Impact Wrestling is not only benefiting from other wrestling companies, but they could also be helping other wrestling companies in return. You kind of look at where Impact Wrestling is at. With the GFW stuff, the Global Pro Wrestling stuff, they still have somewhat of a connection with AAA, with the whole Lucha Underground thing that they're doing. They managed to get guys like Pentagon Jr., who was a world champion for them, Drago, Aerostar, Brian Cage. They were able to get guys like that could really help the product moving forward. Now you look at Impact Wrestling, they managed to make a partnership deal with the Jericho Cruise. That's a huge win for them because after All In, the Jericho Cruise is kind of like the next buzzing thing in professional wrestling. And, you know, with ROH doing the C show and everything like that, now Impact Wrestling kind of having it where they kind of like mend the fence with ROH. We don't really know the whole situation. I mean, I felt that it was a huge step forward when Austin Aries was showing up on ROH television. I was saying to myself, oh, that's shock. Because I was actually pretty shocked that Aries was doing stuff with Ring of Honor again. Because, you know, Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor necessarily don't have the best working relationship in the past. But now Austin Aries is able to wrestle for Ring of Honor, and it's kind of opening up the doors where Impact and Ring of Honor can mend that relationship, which would be good for both parties involved. And especially with Impact Wrestling maybe trying to get a partnership with New Japan Pro Wrestling again, that is good. And what I feel like with Impact Wrestling is it's not like it's going to be like all the other times where they let these other companies go in and they let the other companies walk all over them, and then Impact Wrestling kind of just doesn't get anything out of it. I really do feel like Impact Wrestling in the long run might actually get stuff out of it, might actually benefit from these partnerships. I mean, really, to be honest here, the fact that they are able to work with New Japan Pro Wrestling, especially where New Japan Pro Wrestling is at, it's a good thing. And it's something that when you look at Impact and the business moves that they're making, it's good for them. And I'm happy to see it. I'm happy to see Impact Wrestling being able to open up their doors and mend relationships and possibly being able to form a good little triangle with Lucha Underground / AAA, with Ring of Honor, and with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Because that right there, those four companies, that they can work some talent exchange, like, you know, Ring of Honor and New Japan already have, and AAA kind of really somewhat has with, like, the CMLL is still kind of connected to New Japan. At least I think it is in my mind. Like, I always feel like CMLL is a little bit more connected to New Japan than AAA. But if you can find a way to get all four of those things kind of working together, that's just a good thing for pro wrestling. That's a great little, not really, I guess, a triangle. I guess you could say rectangle. But for Impact Wrestling, that's a great triangle of wrestling talent being exchanged. Because there's a lot of guys and gals that are from those companies that could help out Impact Wrestling. That could make Impact Wrestling's product, you know, a solid, decent product as it is, a little bit better. And this also gives a lot of people hope that have been wondering what the hell has Impact Wrestling been doing lately. It gives them kind of an idea that, hey, Impact Wrestling is trying to change for the better. Impact Wrestling is not doing the same dumb shit that they used to do in the past. They're trying to improve as a product. They're trying to get things done. Ultimately, when it comes down to it, it's up to the execution of Impact, and it's up to them to get an audience to watch the weekly television shows. But as far as a business that's in this rebuilding era, that's trying to get people to trust them again, they're doing pretty good. They're doing a solid job at making these business relationships that ultimately I think will pay off. What do you guys think about this whole Impact Wrestling thing? Leave it in the comment section down below. If you guys like this video, give it a big old thumbs up. Follow me on Twitter at ChaseOver68. And remember, guys, just like our champion Brock Lesnar, sometimes you don't have to give a shit in life. Peace. Oh, yeah. Yo! Yo!